There are concerns some renters could become homeless if affordable housing arrangements under the National Rental Affordability Scheme are allowed to expire. Under the scheme, which was created in 2008, eligible people have 25% of their rent subsidised under 10-year agreements between the government and housing providers. With many of those expiring, many renters are worried they won't be able to keep a roof over their head. Peter McMillan is the Chief Executive of Shelter NT. He joins me now from Darwin. Peter McMillan, thank you so much for your time. How acute are the shortages in the Northern Territory in particular?
We've got a very significant, drastic situation with housing and homelessness here in the Northern Territory. We have 12 times the national rate for Australia, and we have seen over the last number of years our waitlist for public housing growing by 25% over the last 2 years alone. We have significant challenges in remote communities, and it's good to see that there is ongoing investment into more Aboriginal housing in those communities, but we're still a very long way from where we need to be, with over half remote community houses severely overcrowded. There's a lot of work to do there, and even in our urban communities we're seeing a lot of stress. Some of our member organisations are reporting 500 to 600 clients coming through their doors in a month. They might be in mortgage stress, they might be suffering from rental stress or other cost of living pressures. It really is a dire time out there to be a renter at the moment, especially here in the Northern Territory.
What needs to change?
Well, what's been missing, I think, from the national conversation around housing and homelessness policy has been a focus on renters. Here in the Northern Territory, 50% of Territorians are renters, more so than any other jurisdiction in Australia, which is closer to 30%. And we see in Darwin, in our regional communities in the Northern Territory, similar to what we've seen right across capital cities and indeed in the regions, just a complete shortfall of property to rent, with vacancy rates sometimes around 1% to 2%, with many families queuing up for a chance to get access to a place that they can afford, if indeed there's any place available to rent at the best of times at the moment. So we're seeing right across our regions a real shortfall of places to rent. We don't have protections for renters that are facing increases that most Australians would say are unconscionable. $100 to $150 per week rent, simply because there's nowhere else on the market available. And that's really driving a lot of people into some very difficult positions, having to sleep in cars or in sheds or on other people's couches, or in a caravan park, or even the Northern Territory. So what we're looking to see from a housing policy perspective is a focus on what we can do right now to ensure that more people don't enter into homelessness. When we've just seen a 5% increase nationally, with the latest ABS census data that was released earlier this week, we can ill afford to have more families experiencing homelessness. And I think those programs like NRAS and Commonwealth Rent Assistance that help keep struggling renters in houses are very important.
Yeah, social housing takes a long time to build, so what options does that leave people in the meantime?
Well, I think it's a little bit like this, that if I can just use an analogy of a coastal area that has a beach, for example, that's got a well-known rip and it's a popular spot for swimming, and we've had lifesavers there for 10 years that have been helping people from going under, and then a new government comes along and says, we're going to build a new breakwater to stop more people from going under. That's fantastic, and the community's right behind that. But in the meantime, until the 3 or 4 years when the housing comes online, we've got more people at risk of going under. So we recognise, of course, the importance of more social and affordable housing across Australia, and we know that there's around 650,000 shortfall at the moment nationally of housing stock. If we lose another 24,000 properties from this NRAS scheme when it comes to an end, then the Commonwealth Government's new housing initiatives, which are going to roll out 30 to 40,000 homes over the next 5 years, all that will be doing is merely replacing the assets that have been taken out of the social and affordable housing stockpile by letting these entitlements come to an end, as well as, of course, the risk and reality that many more families are going to become homeless.
Yeah, there are no easy solutions. It's a conversation we'll be having for a long time to come. Peter McMillan, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The World Athletics Council